verbal or life. Um,
So, happy Father's Day. All right. Thank you for joining me here on Sunday. What's today? June 15th? Yeah. So, let's take a look at Maria Bartiromo and what she had to say about what's going on with the big, beautiful bill that Donald Trump is putting forward. After all the hell that man's gone through, and just recently going up against Elon Musk, the world's richest man. Great, great fight. It's all entertainment. Let's take a look because it just gives more and more stuff to talk about. Let me just play the video and then we'll talk more about it.
Welcome back. Breaking news this morning with the war in Iran and its nuclear facilities escalating overnight. The U.S. and the British are supporting Israel's action against the Iranian regime's efforts to build a nuclear bomb.
Did this mean we're going to go into World War III? Like, really, what are we doing on another side of the world?
Says the Senate moves debate and a vote on President Trump's big, beautiful bill to a week later. Fox News has learned that Senate Republicans will push debate and the floor vote from this week to the week of June 22nd. That is raising some questions on whether they will make their self-imposed July 4th deadline for passage of the big, beautiful bill. Joining me now with the view from the Senate is Senate Majority Whip and Wyoming Senator John Barrasso, who has a message to the Ayatollah Khomeini this morning. Senator, thanks very much for being here. What is your message?
Thank you, Maria. The message to the Ayatollah is the United States has troops, facilities, and civilians in the region. Do not attack them. That is our red line. If you go there, all bets are off. All the attacks against Iran right now have been conducted by Israel. To the Ayatollah, you have lost your military leadership. You have lost your nuclear scientists. You have lost lots of your weapons. President Trump offered you an opportunity to dismantle your nuclear program as you got closer to a nuclear weapon. You refused to do so. President Trump has been consistent for the last 10 years. Iran with a nuclear weapon is a direct threat to the United States, and we will not tolerate it.
What are the odds that the U.S. is forced to get involved in a wider war in the Middle East, sir?
Why are we getting involved? There's more to it than this, right? Threatening Iran, there got to be way more than that. And they're not telling us.
Well, the president speaks for himself on this. The president has lots of options and incredible capacity. I talked yesterday with the Secretary of State to go over all of those things with Marco Rubio. The role we have played so far has just been in defense of Israel. There are 700,000 Americans in Israel today. Yeah. If the Ayatollah goes after our troops, our bases, or our civilians, that's the red line. All bets are off.
Understood, sir. Now, there is money in the big, beautiful bill for defense, among other priorities. Are you moving the debate and floor vote a week later? And what is behind that, sir?
Well, the idea is always to get this done by the 4th of July. Republicans are united and committed to provide safety and prosperity for the American people. So there are a lot of reasons we need to get this passed. And the number one that most people know about is we're trying to prevent this $4 trillion tax increase. It would be the largest tax increase in the history of our country. It would hit all hardworking American people. We cannot allow to have that to happen.
So they got 2 weeks to do it, right? 2 weeks is July 4th. It's going to be a great day, an amazing day. And I think they're building up. So when that day comes, it'll be big celebrations.
Happen. The bill includes lots of popular things, including no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, all of the issues that are so important to people that the Democrats have left behind. We need to secure the border. There's money there for our ICE agents, for people who are on border patrol. And of course, after the last 4 years of American weakness abroad, we are rebuilding the military. Yep. So I am absolutely committed to the promises that we have made to get this passed so we can get prices down, get wages up, and bring jobs back to America, Maria.
Yeah. Do you expect debate and the floor vote to take place the week of June 22nd?
You know, they're going to build it up, all right? Bring up the suspense, because all these politicians, they're like theater actors. They just want to build things up to make it seem like they came in at the last minute with a jump shot and got the bill to pass. So much drama for no reason.
The plan is to the week before the 4th of July to move to the floor in the United States Senate. We're still working on so much of the proposal. As you know, the government is too big and it spends too much. You've been talking for a long time on the program about how much money we're going to be able to cut from the bloated budgets that we have. And the Finance Committee on which I serve, you talked about we've been assigned the job of cutting $1 billion. We've already identified over $1 trillion in cuts. And it goes beyond waste, fraud, and abuse. There's a lot of corruption out there as well, Maria.
Yes.
Look, the state of California has set up a money laundering scheme, and the Biden administration was all on board with it. It siphoned lots and lots of money from the federal treasury into California to be used for health care, for Medicaid, for illegal immigrants. And
like nobody's getting prosecuted. All the fraud and waste and people stealing money, they're just saying that money was stolen, but they don't point their fingers at anybody. They don't name names. Like, who are the politicians becoming millionaires, multi-millionaires off of this? And like, can we take them to trial? Because if a regular person starts stealing from the government, I don't know, man, but I think they will get locked up, right? They make an example out of the little guy who's trying to steal from the government, but not the politicians.
I was meeting with the Wyoming Mining Association. They are absolutely furious to see their tax dollars going for over 1.2 million illegal immigrants to get health care. There are things we need to do. There are 5 million people in this country, working age men who ought to be working, but they're not, and they're getting food stamps, they're getting Medicaid. We need to have strict work requirements. That's why we need to get this bill passed soon, so the hardworking tax.
Like, my mother became the welfare queen. She knew that all the government programs were not attached to each other. So you take from one, you could take from another one and just build up wealth that way. Now, mom is 75, retired, and made a killing off of the government. I hate to snitch on her, but she doesn't live in this country anymore. She made so much money, she went back to her country to live life.
Taxpayers of this country get the benefits almost immediately.
These are such important points that you have just made, Senator. Real quick, you can only afford 3 no votes on this bill. I know that Rand Paul is complaining about raising the debt ceiling. He was with me last week. I know that Ron Johnson is complaining about the level of spending here. He was with me 2 weeks ago. Do you feel you have the votes to get this passed, or is it more than 3 people that are pushing back and saying they can't vote for it in this form?
As the majority whip, I listen to all of the members, listen closely. I am optimistic and confident that we will accomplish this for the American people, to make their lives better, to provide the safety and prosperity that they have voted for.
Again, building drama. I think the few people that haven't signed up or said yes, they're going to vote yes, they are just building drama to get the television cameras to point at them. Period. Because if this is the best thing for the American people, there's nothing to talk about. What are we talking about here? Insane. Bunch of freaking movie actors wannabes.
Okay, Senator, it's great to have you this morning. Always a pleasure. And we so appreciate all the very important points you made this morning on the success of this bill. Senator John Barrasso joining us. Quick break and then view from the House of Representatives with Foreign Affairs Committee member Darrell Issa. He'll join me next. Stay with us.
It's insane.
Welcome back. There are hundreds of thousands of Americans in Israel today as war between Israel and Iran escalates. My next guest spoke with 2 of those Americans this weekend, who are separately back and forth in and out of shelters all weekend. U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee and Caitlyn Jenner, who had arrived in Israel late last week for a planned Pride parade in Tel Aviv. Joining me now is the man himself, California Congressman and the Vice Chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, Mr. Vice Chairman, thank you so much for being here. What can you tell us about the state of affairs right now?
Well, Israel is a country that is used to being attacked. They have safe rooms everywhere, including the hotels. And a great many Americans, of course, visiting Israel are in those hotels, going in and out of the safe rooms, as Caitlyn Jenner was. The fact is that Ambassador Huckabee went to Israel knowing when he was sent there by President Trump that this was a real possibility, that Iran's continued effort to get nuclear was going to lead to this day.
Now, you've been briefed on the situation, and I want to get your take on how you would assess the nuclear capabilities of Iran today. We understand much of the nuclear facilities have been diminished or destroyed, but there is still that one.
It almost feels like fake nuke facilities or fake nuke facilities where they're just pumping it up, and then later years down the line, they're going to say, technically, they had nothing. We were over exaggerating the issue.
Underground, which is very serious and has, so far we understand, kept intact. How would you assess the situation?
I think the best way to look at it, Maria, is that the fissile material, all this years of running centrifuges and so on, they still have that material deep underground. What they lack now, thanks to the Israeli Defense Forces, they lack the ability to launch a bomb. They lack the ability to make additional materials. And quite frankly, they lack the ability to defend themselves as Israel continues to diminish their ability to make the other types of rockets, the ones that you've seen hitting Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and the like.
Who would assist Iran, if anyone, in the world today? I mean, the Western world, the United States, the British, they have been assisting in whatever way they can Israel's efforts. But do you think that Iraq would come to the aid of Iran? And what about Syria not becoming a military base for Turkey? Assess the broader Middle Eastern region for us.
Well, there's that old expression in the center of chaos lies opportunity. Chaos is beginning to give us opportunity, not the way we saw with the Arab Spring years ago, but real opportunity. Syria is at an inflection point of will they have an inclusive government? I'm not looking for democracy, but I do think that they have a shot at an inclusive government. They do give us one thing, which is they are no longer friendly to Iran. The Iraqi government has been going back and forth between cozying up with Iran and moving away and being a more independent.
Sometimes I feel like they spend way too much time talking about things that are happening abroad or across the other side of the world. Where here in America, we got this no kings problem, where they're having no kings protests going up against the president of the United States. Nobody's celebrating that man, everything that he's doing, or the help that he's doing for this country. Let's take a look at this video from the Black Perspective that talks about the difference between the protesters, the peaceful protesters that are in LA, which they say they only have a few menaces or a few people that are doing wrong. But the reality is they're burning cars. I mean, what else do you have to see? They're burning cars and going up against the police. So, not peaceful protest. And the left-wing media, they got to say it. And until they say it, we don't believe them. All right, let's take a look at Cotton at Face the Nation. See him going up against, or hold up.
Margaret?
So I know you are staying on top of all.
Hold up. Let's see. We can talk about more about American issues. Forget the other side of the world. What's going on in America?
These events. When it comes to what President Trump has said publicly, he seems to be indicating not just that the U.S. had nothing to do with the attack on Iran, but he's saying this is not America's fight unless Iran hits the U.S. Should it be such a bright line?
Well, what the president said in his overnight post was a clear message to the Ayatollahs that if you hit America in any way, whether our troops or our citizens or our ships, for instance, then you're going to feel the full force and strength of the U.S. military in a way no one's ever seen.
Talk about it.
That's a clear deterrent message, setting us.
Trump talks about it. Let them know what it is. Come near America or anything that has to do with America, and we're going to attack you. That's what's up.
aside the threat that the nuclear program poses to Israel and to the United States. Because let's remember, the Iranian regime has been terrorizing Americans. It's killed thousands of Americans. It's taken them hostage. It still chants death to America. And it's building missiles that can strike not just our troops or our friends in the region, but soon enough here in the United States as well. And that's why President Trump has been consistent for his 10 years in political life, that we cannot allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon.
And that's why Trump put fear on everybody watching. All the other countries, they know Trump doesn't play around. This is no Biden, no Democrat. This is a serious man walking in the room. Pay attention. He talking.
We cannot allow them to have a path to a nuclear weapon with uranium enrichment. That's the deal that he was trying to negotiate for the last 2 months. But as he said early last week, Iran was simply too stubborn. They weren't willing to come to the table and negotiate. And I have to disagree with the reporter who said that Israel strikes in Iran ended those negotiations. It was Iran's stubbornness that ended them. President Trump was clear about that, and he is still clear that there is time if they want to come back to negotiate an end to the uranium enrichment program, that he would accept that. But he's given them chance after chance, as he said.
But in terms of the line he's drawing on military force, should the U.S. involvement be purely defensive and deterrent, or should the U.S. be willing to be engaged in these military operations?
Well, I don't think he's drawn that line. He's been very clear that all options remain on the table to defend our own people, to support Israel. But he said that for 10 years, and he said it for months leading up to this moment. He said that Iran can make a deal and live happily without death, or there will be bombing. So I think he's appropriately kept all options on the table. He made clear in the early days of this conflict on Thursday night and Friday morning that we back Israel to the hilt.
You know, the left-wing media always needs translation. Needs somebody to break it down for them, put it in their own words, because they don't understand what Trump is doing. It's like the man is working at a higher level.
There's almost 700,000 Americans in Israel at any time. So, of course, we're going to protect Israel, and that we have the best military technology in the world. And he said that he has proudly provided Israel with those weapons, both in his first term and in this term as well. So we back Israel to the hilt all the way, but he's appropriately keeping all options on the table.
But he's emphasizing again and again, this isn't us. This isn't America. This isn't an American operation.
So far in this operation, we have not been involved in offensive strikes. We've been involved in other ways through our provision of Israel with weapons over the years, or our defense of Israel and its citizens and our citizens in Israel. Now, he has said his objective remains the same, which is Iran's nuclear disarmament. And he has said that can happen still through a deal.
He prefers diplomacy.
And he would like Iran to come back to the table. I think now that Iran sees that Israel and America means business, and surrender its enrichment capabilities voluntarily. If that doesn't happen, though, I think these strikes are going to continue.
But to the point, if it's really about destroying the nuclear program that Iran has, you know this very well, that there's this underground facility at Fordo, very deep, under a mountain.
I wonder how real this is, because here in America, we go with whatever the media says. And now with what happened with Iraq, where they had the fake nukes, this could be fake. And then later on talk about it, my bad, it was fake. We blew them up for no reason. So there's a possibility it may happen again.
It's long been assessed that only the U.S. has the capability with a bunker buster bomb to take it out. Should the United States offer that kind of massive ordnance penetrator to Israel to finish the job?
Well, I'm not going to speculate about the methods that the United States or Israel might use to protect our own interests. I'll simply say this. It is, as you say, widely known that Israel does not have heavy bombers. It doesn't have those 30,000-pound penetrating munitions. But as we saw with Hezbollah last fall.
Can we give it to them or lend it to them so they could use it and we don't have to get involved? It's like we didn't do anything. We just gave it to them and they decided to use them. Why do we have to get so involved?
As we saw in Iran on Thursday night, when the Mossad had infiltrated officers and agents and manufactured drones in Iran, Israel has more than a few tricks up their sleeve. And I wouldn't be surprised if Israel has other cards yet to play.
So when it comes to differences in intelligence assessments, the U.S. intelligence that was made public in March said at the time, the U.S. does not assess Iran's building a nuclear weapon, and that the Supreme Leader has not reauthorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended back in 2003. Was there more recent U.S. intel sharing or intel indicating that there was some kind of sprint for a bomb? Because that seems
Well,
Yeah, like again, the intel, they're trying to convince the American public that it's happening so that it's okay for us to go up against them and bomb Iran. When later on, when we destroy them, we could say, my bad, we were wrong. But they got blown up.
a very different assessment from what Israel's claiming.
Well, unfortunately, Iran enriched a lot of uranium to near weapons grade over the
Right.
4 years of the Biden administration.
But that's
And
not weaponization. You
They
know
are
that.
they are close to having enough pure weapons grade uranium for several weapons. Now, that's not the only step to having a weapon. You also have to have the weapon design. We've seen indications that Iran is once again exploring those weapon designs. And then if you want to use a missile, obviously you have to marry up the warhead to the missile, but Iran has other delivery methods as well through terrorist proxies. So I think that's one of the reasons why both President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu thought things that were coming to a head. A second reason is Iran is rapidly producing ballistic missiles, both medium range to target Israel and short range to target our troops. And they add substantially to those stockpiles every single month. And at a time when Iran is both continuing its work on its nuclear program and trying to rebuild its offensive missile capacity, that the window to actually stop Iran from entering that zone
Right.
of immunity was rapidly closing.
But why Thursday night?
Well,
There
as
seems to be a difference in,
well, as
in
President
this idea
Trump's-
of a sprint.
Well, as President Trump said on Friday morning, that he had given Iran 60 days to make a deal, and
And
that
he
was day
scheduled
61.
talks on day 63. You know that. I mean, this wasn't really a hard deadline.
Look at that, the numbers that she's working with. Trying to be all smart.
He gave them 60 days, and on day 61, the strikes began.
Day 63, Steve Witkoff wanted to meet with him. But if this was a covert race to weaponize, though, it raises
But I-
questions here because it appears President Trump's offer is to negotiate with the existing regime that is in place in Iran. Do you support a deal with the existing regime in Iran to stay in place? Do you support his push for diplomacy?
President Trump has always said his goal is to end Iran's nuclear weapons program, which means the surrender of its uranium
But
enrichment
this would be
capability.
offering them a lifeline, wouldn't it?
Well, it would be protecting our interests and securing Israel's interests as well in Iran not having a nuclear weapon. We've seen what happens when they don't have nuclear weapons. They're deliberately targeting civilian areas in Israel. We've seen their campaign of terror against Americans over the decades. That's why we can't allow them to have a nuclear weapon. And presidents
Right.
have said, for 20 years, presidents have said that. George Bush said it, didn't act on it. Barack Obama and Joe Biden, frankly, aided and abetted Iran's nuclear program. Only Donald Trump has drawn that line and is willing to enforce that line.
But he's not enforcing that line. It is Israel that's bombing. As you just said, the United States is not involved in these offensive
But in
operations.
Israel, we are helping.
Do you,
we're
but
helping-
do you share the president's assessment that the way to finish this is through negotiating with the existing regime that the Israelis have called for the Iranian people to rise up against?
I think there's multiple ways to eliminate Iran's enrichment capability. They are today what they were Thursday morning before these strikes started. As the president has said repeatedly, they can make a deal or there's going to be bombing.
I want to
Well,
move to
simple.
some domestic issues, but very quickly. I know in the past,
It can't get any simpler than that. Make a deal or it's going to be bombing. What's so difficult to understand? He's serious about it. Let's go.
you have said that former officials who have a direct threat against them from Iran should continue to receive security. President Trump pulled it.
I think
Should
we
they get it now?
We should probably revisit the threat that all persons face. Remember, President Trump faced assassination threats from Iran as well.
Mhm.
In this moment of tension, to ensure that no one who worked for President Trump in the first term or works for him now could be the target of Iranian agents.
And that security detail was pulled by the president himself. On immigration, the Trump administration has decided to pull back its policy a little bit. They are pausing raids on farms, hotels, and restaurants. Arkansas has a lot of agricultural business in your state. Do you support this decision?
Now, I think we need to have robust worksite enforcement. I don't think ICE is going to show up at one or two restaurants where they have an illegal migrant working. Usually it's unscrupulous employers who have large numbers of illegal immigrants working in their work.
Deport them all. And the employers, they're trying to make money by getting cheap labor and taking advantage of these people that don't work for anything. Because in third world country, they make nothing. So let's say they make 50 cents an hour, and here you're giving them $10 an hour. You're giving them a whole lot of money, and it's not minimum wage; it's below minimum wage. But for them, it's the world.
Sites and whatever work site it is, whatever industry it is, ICE has to be able to go and enforce our immigration laws and remove illegal immigrants.
But the president has pulled back from that. That was the change in policy this week when it came to farms.
I don't think we should pull back on any kind of enforcement at all. I think worksite enforcement in all industries needs to be able to move forward. And I think ICE agents on the front lines need the support of political leadership.
And you would want more enforcement.
And you know what? We should get in trouble. All the Democrat politicians that are talking bad about ICE. These are federal agencies, and they're making the public hate them. Again, these politicians, man, need to go to jail. Somebody got to say something about them. Trying to get the regular people to go up against federal agents who are just doing their job.
Including in manufacturing, including in construction, where it could impact the economy.
We should not declare any industry or any work site that uses large numbers of illegal immigrants off limits for enforcement of federal law.
Thank you.
I also want to ask you about the enforcement today.
It's important to get the media to say it, because those are the microphone. They got the microphone and they got the reach to the audience. So they got to join the conversation and say, yes, we got to support the federal government at all costs. We got to deport all these illegal migrants who are just hurting our community.
There has been outcry. We've seen protests across the country because of the enforcement policies. You wrote an op-ed supporting President Trump's decision to send in federalized National Guard troops and active duty Marines to California. You referred to it as the threat from the radical left, an overwhelming show of force to end the riots, and talked about communities being terrorized. Given the amount of tension in the...
Look, you see that community being terrorized. Hello, can you put out a message saying, hey, we're not going against our community. We are trying to help by facilitating deporting these people in an orderly fashion. Nobody being brutally hurt or thrown down on anything. Just back to where you belong. Back to your country, apply the legal way, and then come back once you get accepted to come back like everybody else.
Country right now, is that really the language to use?
Yes, when you see left-wing street militias who are throwing bricks and frozen water bottles at police officers and shooting them with fireworks. And unfortunately, you have mayors and governors in some places that won't allow police to maintain order. The next step is to call in the National Guard. And if the governor won't call in the National Guard, then the president has to federalize them. We always hope that the local police are allowed to do their job and have sufficient numbers.
I love the fact that the president is not allowing cities and towns to get burnt like before. He sees what's going on and he sends in the Marines, he sends in the Army. All right, let's stop the chaos. Stop the maniacs from breaking things and throwing bricks. And stop the regular media talking, the politicians that are talking about these are peaceful protesters. Calling us stupid like we can't see that these are maniacs throwing things at cops. Arrest them all.
To do their job, to maintain order and protect innocent life and property. But if they can't or they're not allowed to, the National Guard has to be on scene to restore civil order.
LAPD says they were handling when things turned violent yesterday. They fired rubber bullets, but they said they had it under control.
The LA police chief said last weekend that his forces were overwhelmed and they couldn't manage the situation.
Senator Cotton, thank you very much.
Yo, thank you for saying that. They were overwhelmed and couldn't manage the situation. Why she doesn't say that? Why she talks about some other shit? Like we're dumb, like we're blind, like we don't see all the maniacs going down and hurting the cops and hurting the regular people. And as a matter of fact, you don't see like legal migrants protesting. They don't want the illegal migrants in because they're just cheating, trying to skip and not apply, not spend all the money we had to spend to apply. Like my parents came here and they had to apply and wait their turn and spend all the money. Man, we are living in some crazy times. Look, the blacks refuse to help the Mexicans. Even the blacks are standing back. Check out this video. because black people are not jumping in. They're not taking one for the team. They are minding their business, letting things play out.
Backgrounds. And that is important. The Hispanic community is now the #1 minority group, while the historic #FBA or African American group is now #2. But something is different this time with these protests. The historical Negro or African American community, now known as FBA. Black Americans are sitting this one out, and the Latino community are pissed.
How can you lack so much compassion? What if your mom, your dad, was immediately just taken from you as a white?
And you know, Trump said this was going to happen. You were going to have women and children crying into the camera because they do great drama, right? Touches people's heart, make people feel sorry. But no, this was expected. This is BS. Listen to this maniac. Who cares how beautiful you are?
As a black person, as anyone, how can you just accept that? This is not, bro, this is so unreal. And how can people just lack compassion? How? Why can't you just imagine yourself just waking up?
You know what this lady should do? Let like 100 illegal migrants live in her house. Let them all live there. See how you feel. See how invaded you're going to feel. I'm going to start calling the Navy and the military to come help you. Because it's nice to look into a camera in a nice little house and do this crying. But it's BS.
Up one day with your family not there anymore. So LA businesses are getting raided by ICE, or some people that are wearing stuff that says ICE on it with their faces all covered up. People are getting ran over. Shots are being literally fired. Literally.
Selena Gomez already made a video crying, trying to touch people's hearts, but none of that is working. It's all theater, right? It's all fake. We got to get this nation under control. You can step back, stop making stupid videos, and watch it happen.
Literally. And this is supposed to be life right now.
She should have put on a turtleneck, and that's it. Stop showing your boobs.
We're not going to get treated like humans because they don't see us like humans. They lack compassion.
And while Latinos are making the call, they're not alone. They do have some support in the African American community.
All right, this message is for my brown people.
Yeah.
And although as black folks decided to sit this one out because we did try to warn y'all at the polls, we do see that it's up. California is a blue state. 66% of Latinos in California voted against Trump, but it's not enough. You got to work on your people that hate us. Then you got to rally your people because they hate you like they hate us. And don't tell me this is not about race. There's over 500,000 undocumented immigrants in America from Poland or Russia or Germany, the UK, Italy, Ireland, all over Eastern Europe. But they're not joining the protests because they're not being targeted.
Yep.
America has always been obsessed with race. You burglarize and steal someone's home, make law.
And it's the Democrats that have been obsessed with race. They don't let go. That's it. Identity politics doesn't work anymore. People know what you're doing. It's part of the game. It's a lie. So stop talking race.
Laws that only protect you, then get upset when they want to move back in. Talking about, we need to protect our borders. Most of you never even met a Mexican American. And if you have, they're probably doing a job that you would never want to do anyway.
But wait, there's more.
These ain't criminals. They're snatching up students and nurses and builders and farmers, electricians and plumbers. They got armored vehicles pulling up on line cooks. You're separating mothers from their children and telling people who've been here for decades to just go and start a life somewhere else because you're uncomfortable. In their land. You just took their and was even too lazy to change the names. It's still San Francisco, San Diego, San Bernardino, Ventura, Calabasas, Rancho Cucamonga.
A lot of African Americans don't believe in this so-called black and brown coalition because they've seen time and time again as they believe they've helped Hispanics get rights. At the same time, their rights have been dwindled or diminished in America. And they don't want to continue to go and just give all of their support to a group in which they feel doesn't give anything back.
Black people in LA, mind your business. Black people in LA, mind your business. This don't got nothing to do with us. ICE and the National Guard being in LA has nothing to do with us. I don't understand rallying behind a whole bunch of people that hard ER you. They don't even like you for real. Everybody want to make their problems our problems. It's tired. It's tired. This don't got nothing to do with us. Sit there, watch, look. Don't go out there. Go home. Go watch the NBA finals. Go do something that's Black related. Go have a cookout. Go do something Black. Like, this don't got nothing to do with us.
If you guys don't know, Los Angeles, especially in South Central in areas like Compton, where African Americans dominated, eventually had the influx of Hispanics into the city. And then you had certain evidences of Hispanics attacking Blacks and even trying to run Blacks out of neighborhoods. And for those of you who are from California, like myself, you understand this very well, especially in Southern California, which there is a very...
All I know from LA is that South Central LA, that's where all the Crips and Bloods are from. The Killers, they got a lot of great movies. I think Menace to Society was from there. How badasses they are. And what, you want to send in those soldiers to go fight? Come on now.
Very big divide between Blacks and Latinos. It's not so evident in Northern California, like Sacramento or the Bay, where Blacks and Hispanics, typically get along more in Northern California. But in Southern California, it can be a war, and it has been a war, with a lot of African Americans losing on that side. Now, the same people who were telling, Blacks, hey, listen, we're taking your jobs, hey, we're starting businesses, you guys are this, you guys are that. Now, all of a sudden, you're asking for help when you were not even caring about these same people who have helped you get far in America. You even had John Leguizamo, a guy who got his start in Black comedy as a Colombian. He says interesting things like this.
Latin people, we're the largest ethnic group in America, the oldest ethnic group. We built this country.
Boy, y'all sit your stupid ass down.
Everybody built this country. I'm tired of every single race talking about we did it. It was because of us. You're here. This country is great because of us. I mean, I really hate listening to those Hispanics do that, Blacks, Asians. Everybody always want to say we built the country.
You think you is?
So here you have John Leguizamo, a guy who started, like I said, in Black comedy, in many Black comedy circuits. He's using the same terminology that many historical African Americans have used by saying, we built this country, we suffered in this country. At one point, he says, we're the oldest minority ethnic group in this country. And these are things that typically Black people used to say, all right? And now...
So I think everybody says the same thing. It's just tag your it. Whoever turn it is to say it, they go in front of a camera and they say it. Who built the railroads? Who built the houses? Who did the farming? Who did this? And they keep going on. Everybody wants a piece of the pie. Instead of just getting a job, go work.
They're saying it, completely diminishing the contributions from the historical Negro community or hashtag ADOS community or the African American community. All of these are the same. And so this has really, really, really pissed off Blacks. But what's more important to understand, guys, is that even Hispanics are starting to agree with African Americans.
Black people are tired of being a bank where everyone keeps making withdrawals and no one ever makes a deposit. And I want you to think about that. If that was your setup, would you still want to give? Especially for those of us in the Hispanic community, because it's about patterns that we've inherited and the harm that we've ignored. Me, myself, I'm Puerto Rican. I've seen how anti-Blackness and colorism still show up in our homes, in our language, in our media, in our families.
Everybody's racist to a certain degree because we are trained. We are taught since we were little kids to be racist. And that's it, to look at colors. Even though we may not want to, it gets forced on TV and on propaganda, television, the news. They won't shut up about it. And that's why in small communities, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Hispanics still talk about it because of them.
In many families, darker skin is treated like a disadvantage. When solidarity is needed, hesitation shows what's been internalized, and too many of us were raised to believe that aligning with Blackness meant losing something: safety, opportunity, acceptance. And we were taught the proximity to whiteness would protect us, that staying quiet was safer. So if we don't unlearn that, we end up repeating the same harm.
No, we don't. All right? When we went to school, we picked up a book. We could learn more, or we could learn different than continuing to push identity politics. Identity politics doesn't work. Let it go.
And the most damning evidence is going to come right now.
La comunidad que nos va a sacar de este hueco se llaman los negros
100%.
americanos.
100%.
African American community is the only community that has the power in this country to change anything. They are the only one with the experience of civil matter. They are the only one que tenían el esclavo ahí mismitico. They are the only one that are not going to get deported anywhere, and you cannot put them all in jail. So African American community, which is the community that is stepped on by Cubans, the most are the only ones that are going to save the Latinos. And I
did not know that. We are waiting for a savior. We need anybody to save us. There's black Hispanics, black Latinos. What are we talking about? Can you just save yourself?
Clap for the African American community that has not come out because it is not. I do. We didn't do.
I get it. I get it. But I don't.
Me and you support, but in masses, we didn't support anything that was going with them. Latinos look at Cubans specifically. I'm not going to talk about any other community because I'm not part of that community, even though I'm a Latina with them. Cubans talk shit about African Americans. Cubans did not support African Americans. Cubans think that they all.
At the end of the day, everybody talks shit about every other race. Like I said before, we are trained to look at racism or to look at people's identity and then make a judgment. But the only reason we make judgment is to protect ourselves, to know who we up against, who are we about to go talk to. So it's a defense mechanism. That's all it is.
Victimize themselves, all of that. African Americans are the only ones that are going to save your asses, Latinos. So you better start.
Like, I grew up in Harlem, and when I go play basketball at the park, if there are a lot of black people there, I know a fight might break out. We start arguing, a jump shot goes the wrong way. So I get myself ready when I see that. I walk in, there's a bunch of white kids. I'm thinking, ain't nobody going to fight. Ain't nobody going to say anything. People are just going to play and continue playing. So again, identity politics just turns out to be a defense mechanism.
Kissing. If you're going to kiss some ass in this country, you better kiss some black.
Now I want to get back to what the Puerto Rican lady said initially, that, hey, nobody wants to be making deposits and getting nothing back. And that is typically what happens with, blacks trying to support other groups or other agendas. And the same thing is here. The lady from the Cuban community says, listen, we don't care about them. We too care about them. We're going to be honest. We don't do anything for the black community. We don't give any reason to want to be with them. And the same thing that the lady from the Puerto Rican community said. She said, listen, we want to be closer to whites, and associating with blacks when they have issues, we are typically quiet. And now that it's against us, we want their help because now we're the largest minority group, and now we're getting what they used to get instead of the riots and stuff like that when it came to, the gym.
And they keep talking about everything they want for free from the government, what they're supposed to get. They're 400 acres in a mule. How about you get what you work for? Otherwise, you're going to be there waiting for a long, long time. So stop waiting for the government to do anything for you. How about you get together with your community, with your family, and build on what you're learning. It makes a lot of money, or what skills you're learning that you enjoy.
Jim Crow laws and segregation laws. Oh, no, they're not after African Americans anymore. Now they're after you, okay? So now they're after your people. And as the brother said, some of these people probably have to be innocent, and it is a shame if they're innocent and they're illegally, but it doesn't matter because the whites, and I'll be honest, I think whites are threatened by Latinos, some of them at least, because of their...
Not really. You know what Trump should do? He should announce that we're going to deport people by stages. Stage 1, all the criminals. Let's get rid of all the ones that are doing drugs, selling drugs, doing the hurting people, doing crazy stuff. They got to go. And then phase 2, there's some people that, yes, they're working, they're doing their best, but are here illegal and been here for like 10, 20 years. Let's come up with a solution for them. You know what I mean? And then stages of a bunch of grandmothers and kids that were brought here, but got to go. How are we going to do that? So I think if he pronounces it more that way, maybe he could win more people over.
their growing numbers and their growing fame and stuff like that. And then, a lot of the Latino community that I have witnessed, many of them are cool, but hey, listen, this is this thing of ours over here. And so, hey, where are the Latino actresses? Where are the Latino actors? They're not moving it when it was the Black Lives Matters, even though we're a lower number than them. But you can see that we were able to galvanize larger than what the Latino community could do, especially when it comes to our celebrities. Like, African Americans still have more pull in that way as far as making something move and making something shake. But hey, you're not even seeing any Black athletes, Black actresses, anybody, actors, for the most part, coming to the side of the Latino community.
You don't see people who made it in America coming out. Like, you don't see millionaires or billionaires. None of them are coming out because they got it. That's it. They made their millions. They're good to go. Only time they come in front of a camera is for political reasons, to tell the other people to go nuts and go out there and protest, but they don't do it.
Because secretly, a lot of people have been feeling like this for a very long time in the country. And like I said, it may not be right for everybody, but listen, a lot of Blacks are not going to complain about the competition being removed, especially when we didn't view these particular individuals as competition before. And it was even going on when I was a kid. I mean, when I was going to Benjamin O. Davis Middle School in Compton in the 90s, I mean, you had there was a big beef between Blacks and Mexicans then. It's gotten worse over the years. So, hey, the Black community is going to continue to sit it out because why? We feel that ain't nobody looking out for us. Because when it comes to us, we all we got. So, guys, what do you think? It's your boy.
I am glad that they're sitting it out. And more people got to sit it out and just let things die down before the government comes up with a plan of locking everybody up who's out there, being a menace to society. Because a lot of businesses are being looted, right? People are getting robbed. People are getting hurt. Police officers are being hit with things with like water bottle or spit on. So everybody got to calm down and not come out for any group that is being disorderly. Period. But let me know what you think. If you're still watching this video, give it a thumbs up. Hopefully you enjoy the content. I'm going to try to come on every day. My name is Noel, over here battling MS, celebrating the fact that I can still move my fingers, walk and talk, and never going to give up. But I want to see what's today, Sunday, what protests are going to happen. Hopefully it doesn't go out to more states, more cities. I'm from Harlem, so I want to check to see what's going on in Harlem. I'm going to make a phone call, see if they're going crazy over there, because Harlem doesn't like to join anybody to protest. So I got to give them props. They're very individualized, and they're not taking a hit for the team, tell you that much, unless there's money involved. Are they going to put money in their pocket? What they are doing in LA is insane. I'm over here. I had to move out to PA, start a whole another family, because living in the city is crazy. But let me know what you think. All right, I've been on this for 45 minutes. Again, see you guys in the next video. Let me know what you think. Comment down below. With that said, peace.